Hello and welcome to another video where we explore interesting themes in the Confucian Analects. Now in this video, I just want to observe a few passages on the importance of practicing what we preach. And for the lower right-hand corner of the screen, I'm selecting some classic artwork. Wikipedia will give you the backstory on this picture adequately enough, or anyway, it's good enough based on what little I know. Here's our sages, Taoist, Confucian, Buddhist sages at Tiger Creek. And let's just put them in the lower right-hand corner and go to the text. What we are interested in is several passages about the importance of practicing what we preach in the Analects. And let's start with Book 5, Section 13. And there we go. Book 5, Section 13, and I'm in the James Legge translation here, the public domain translation, where we read, "When Zilu heard anything, if he had not yet succeeded in carrying it into practice, he was only afraid lest he should hear something else." Zilu, one of Confucius' disciples, was afraid of hearing any moral instruction until he could properly learn to live by what he had heard already. Let's check some other translations. I'm just checking briefly to see if there's any enlightening notes in the back of this volume. I'm not seeing any. Let's just go then to book. Oh, yes, that's right. Let's go to book 5, section 13, and I must pause the recording to find the passage. There we go. I was looking at book 6. All right. If there was something Zilu had heard, but that he had not yet been able to put into practice, his only fear was of hearing something else. And that's chapter 5, book 5 of the Analects, section 14, and the alternative numbering system that you find in different translations. Probably this is the better numbering system than the classic James Legge translation. When Zilu heard a teaching and had not yet put it into practice, he would be apprehensive about hearing something new in the meantime. All right, so an example of one of the Confucius disciples who thought it was important to be able to put into practice what he had learned and was nervous about hearing anything else until he had. Let's go to, let's just go up just a tiny bit. This passage again. Zigong said, "What I do not wish men to do to me, I also wish not to do to men." The master said, "See, you have not yet attained to that." Zigong said, "What I don't want done to me, I don't want to do to others." Confucius said, "See, you have not yet gotten to this level." So here Confucius is observing to his other disciple, Zigong, the importance of practicing what he preaches. Well, Zigong already acknowledges the importance of it. The importance is I need to stick with this principle. I need to live by this principle. And Confucius observes, well, you're not doing it yet. And as I think I said in another video, I don't think this is a particularly harsh criticism. It's a serious criticism, but not a harsh criticism. It's exhortational. It's more of a keep at it, buddy, kind of thing, I think. Let's check the Oxford World Classics translation. I start off with James Legge Public Domain, and then I move to Oxford World Classics, and the other online edition that I like, Charles Muller's translation, which is probably better than Legge and is not public domain, but is conveniently online. Thank you, Charles Muller. All right, book 5, section 11, no, section 12. Zigong said, "If I do not want others to inflict something on me, I also want to avoid inflicting it on others." The master said, "See, this is not a point you have yet reached." All right, so we must live by these moral principles, and we must recognize when we're not yet doing it and keep at it. Let's go to book 2, section 9, chapter 9, verse 9. Confucius looking at his greatest disciple, his greatest follower, Yan Hui, and recalling earlier impressions of Yan Hui. And Hui was the quiet student. The master said, I've talked with Hui for a whole day, and he's not made any objection to anything I said, as if he were stupid. He is retired, and I've examined his conduct when away from me and found him able to illustrate my teachings. He is not stupid. So the quieter student who doesn't talk in class turns out to be able to apply what Confucius says. The master said, I can talk with Hui for a whole day without him differing from me in any way, as if he is stupid. But when he retires and I observe his personal affairs, it is quite clear that he is not stupid. That's Muller, Oxford World Classics. The master said, I spend the whole day talking with Hui, and he does not put any counter-arguments, but seems stupid. But when he's no longer with me and I study his private conduct, he is after all capable of setting an example. Hui is certainly not stupid. Let's just check book 2, section 9. The explanatory note is probably a brief comment on this particular character. Yes, indeed. And I will not read it. I'll mention this. The explanatory note given by Muller is useful. Hui was Confucius' favorite disciple, who's praised in many passages of the Analects. He died at a young age, probably around 30, a fact which Confucius lamented. All right, so Hui was living by the teachings which in class he, as if he were stupid, did not question, thereby demonstrating his intellect, but more importantly, his moral character. Book 5, section 10. Now let's see. Just a moment. Yes, there we are. Book 5, section 9 in the Leg translation here. Tsai Yu being asleep during the daytime, the master said, rotten wood cannot be carved. A wall of dirty earth will not receive the trowel. This Yu, what is the use of my reproving him? The master said, Confucius being the master, at first my way with men was to hear their words and give them credit for their conduct. Now my way is to hear their words and look at their conduct. It is from you that I've learned to make this change. You, Y-U, not Y-O-U, meaning Tsai Yu. That was what, 5.9 in Leg. I think it's going to be 5.10 in Muller. Tsai Yu slept during the daytime. Confucius said, rotten wood cannot be carved, dirty earth cannot be used for cement. Why bother scolding him? At first, I used to listen to what people said and expect them to act accordingly. Now, I listen to what people say and watch what they do. I learned this from you. Our behavior is more important than what we just say, although what we say does matter. But what really matters is that we say the right thing and live up to it. We have to live up to our own principles. Let's see, book 5, section 10 now, Oxford World Classics. Tsai Yu was in bed during the daytime. The master said, rotten wood cannot be carved, and a dirt wall cannot be troweled. In you, what is to be punished? In you, what is to be punished? Why bother scolding him? What's the use of my correcting him? The master went on, first of all, when I dealt with people, having listened to their words, I took their deeds on trust. But now when I deal with people, having listened to their words, I observe their deeds. It is because of you that I made this change. So this guy must have had, he must have talked a pretty good gang, but he didn't live by him, and you got to live by him. Let's go to book 4, section 22. And now we're getting to some of the more direct and bolder statements of the importance of practicing what we preach. The master said, the reason why the ancients did not readily give utterance to their words was that they feared lest their actions should not come up to them. You know, it's terribly important to live up to your own words. Well, just one moment. Silly me, I searched for the wrong thing. I'm looking for 4.22. The ancients, the master said, Confucius said, Kongzi said, the ancients were hesitant to speak, fearing that their actions would not do justice to their words. The master said, the reason why words were not readily uttered in antiquity was because people were ashamed that they personally would not come up to them. It's terribly important to live by our own principles, live up to our own principles. Now, I think we can finally go to maybe the clearest statement, at least of the ones I jotted down this morning. Book 2, section 13, on the importance of practicing what we preach. So going to ask, what constituted the superior man? The master said he acts before he speaks and afterwards speaks according to his actions. Let's see. Act first, then speak. Book 2, chapter 13, section 13. So going to ask about the gentleman. The master said he puts his sayings into action before adopting them as guidelines. Live rightly, even before you even say what is right. Practice what you preach even before you practice it. Practice what you preach even before you preach it. Okay, book 2, section 13. Now in the Muller translation. So going to ask about the character of the noble man. Confucius said, first he practices what he preaches, and then he follows it. All right, so let's see. Practices what he preaches, then he follows it. There are some issues in translation I'm not qualified to clear up for you. What's unambiguous is that we put our sayings into action first. We practice what we preach first. We act before we speak. And then we live up to our principles by having lived by them even before we bother to say them. So I'm not really sure there's a lot of clever or insightful commentary that's necessary here. I think we just need to observe this is a theme that's repeated in the Analects, practice what we preach. I'll make one further comment, which is probably insightful, though it's not particularly clever. The idea of practicing what we preach is very much a golden rule principle. So this totally connects to passages like all those golden rule passages, and including this one, where Zigong asks for a single concept we can take as a guide for the actions of our whole life. And Confucius replies with that word commonly translated as reciprocity, elaborating with the negative golden rule, which you don't like done to yourself, don't do to others. So the golden rule and all these passages on the golden rule is also a practice what you preach principle. Every concept in the Analects connects to every other one. So why do I say this? Well, if it's not obvious, maybe it doesn't need to be said, but let me try to say it anyway, in case it's not obvious. The golden rule tells us to treat others the way we want them to treat us. Now, we do want other people to treat us in a certain way. We want other people to treat us with respect. We want other people to not mistreat us. What was that? Book 5:11 or 5:12. We want other people to not mistreat us. What I don't want done to me, I don't want done to others. We want other people to not mistreat us. And so we should live accordingly and not mistreat other people. We should live by the same principles we want other people to follow. Of course, we want other people to follow these principles with respect to us. So practice what you preach and follow these principles with respect to others. I suppose I'll again go to maybe the most powerful golden rule statement at the end of book 6. The Ren, humane, benevolent, kind, humanistic, Yan man, wishing himself to be established, sees that others are established, and wishing himself to be successful, sees that others are successful. To be able to take one's own feelings as a guide may be called the art of Ren, Yan. So I believe well, I was going to highlight the exact sentence, but it's well, it's somewhere around here. No, wait a moment. Well, let's just highlight this. I believe this is the wording of to be able to take one's own feelings as a guide may be called the art of Ren. Know what is right with respect to ourselves, which of course is will include principles we expect others to follow and will sometimes say that they should follow, and live up to those same principles in how we treat others. The golden rule is itself a practice what we preach principle, and the importance of practicing what we preach is repeated in the Analects a number of times. All right, that's all. This was a simple lesson on the Analects, I dare say, but awfully important. See you next time.